real test to train them is my course. I will travel across the land, searching far and wide. Each Pokemon to understand the power that's inside. Pokemon, it's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Oh, you're my best friend. In a world we must defend. We touch so through. Our courage will pull us through. You teach me and I'll teach you. Pokemon, gotta catch 'em all.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very, very special episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. It's movie night, everybody. I am one of your hosts this week, Wrestling Chris G. And on the other line with me is the man with all the answers, the psychic one of the group. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, man, how you doing?
It can't be movie night. These floors aren't sticky enough.
You know, I completely missed the opportunity to call you my clone of the night. That would have been perfect for that would have been perfect for this movie.
You did.
Take two. He's the clone of the night.
Will he edit it out? Let's find out when it drops in 3 months or whatever it is.
For real. August 27th is the day that this episode is coming out. So we are officially ending the summer, Doug.
Yes.
Even though technically right now we're only a week into the summer.
Ain't that some shit?
Ain't that some real shit? But we are recording this episode today on July 1st, my anniversary. 2021. And yeah, normally we're recording on a Tuesday, but we went to the movies this week. We tried recording yesterday. Internet sucked ass. And now we're recording on a special Thursday. So
yeah, your internet wasn't cooperating. We basically got through the intro in one attempt, and we found out that your mic was off. So it was just gonna be me responding to myself for an hour and a half.
Dude, no joke. If I didn't, because normally I have it minimized. I don't know why it was blown up on my screen, but I minimized the internet for a second, and I looked down, and I'm talking, and I don't see the little dial going back and forth matching with my voice. I was like, uh-oh, this is not good.
And that just so happened to coincide with, because I felt like we were like getting ready to like transition like to the history facts.
Yes.
And I was going to stop you anyway because you were sounding, kind of boo-boo. And you're like, you won't believe what happened. And I said, you forgot to hit record. And you said, no, I hit record.
My
mic wasn't on.
You're like, but I can hear you. Yeah, but I was muted on my end. The recorder couldn't hear me. It was about to be a good hour and a half Doug show.
And I joked we should keep it and call it the Ryer cut.
Hey, I still got it. It might go in a blooper reel one day. But
then, come to find out as we started this record, it's all for the better that our last attempt didn't work, because I was operating off of my device microphone instead of my actual proper setup microphone.
Yes, so we were all sorts of effed up. I'm going to try to lower the amount of times that we curse on this episode, but we were all sorts of effed up last night.
Yeah, so but it's been good. We had a little bit of preamble before this. We haven't had any problems so far.
Knock on wood.
I'm not noticing a delay in our speech, which was happening last night. We were stumbling over each other, which never happens.
No, never, Doug.
Well, not but you would start you would start a thought, and then I would run into it, and then you'd have to backtrack, and then there was I mean, you understood because
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
going through
yeah.
it, but
Oh yeah. We were talking over each other, but it's all good now. But it's almost 4th of July weekend here in real time, and oh, I guess we can ramble for a brief second before we get into stuff because we have a lot to talk about today. But 4th of July weekend's coming up. You got any plans, Doug? Because as of right now, as of Thursday night, I don't think we're doing anything this year on my end.
I am perfectly fine with just kicking it at the house, honestly, and that's probably for the best because we'll have yahoos in the neighborhood shooting off fireworks. We'll have to reassure the dog that the house isn't falling in.
Yes.
So, and
Oh,
is this your first Fourth of July with a dog?
um,
Did you have her last year?
no. Yeah, this is the first one with the dog. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
So yeah, have fun with that.
Well, she had her first big scare. It was either earlier today or it was yesterday, but
Oh dear.
one of the neighbors had one of those like the fireworks that don't really go into the air but has a big boom that just boom
I hate those.
and it just shakes your house and it boomed and she's like twirling around in circles going "Arr!" I was like, what the hell are you doing, dog? but
Um,
but
but yeah, so I mean, and thankfully Levi's had a couple, so he's kind of just chill. I mean, he'll pick his head up when they start, but because it's not so much a boom and he's okay with it. It's just because it's rapid fire for like 2 hours.
yes.
It's a and then there'll be a break and it'll be okay, and then.
Well, and then you get the random weirdos in the middle of the night, like around 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, the teenagers come out and they're like, oh, let's continue to pop off some fireworks that we didn't pop off earlier.
Well, yeah, because we got that beautiful 3-day weekend, one
And
way or
then,
the other. Either you're off on Friday and you get that, or you're off on Monday.
exactly. So, but, all right. So today we are doing, and we have hyped it up for a long time, but we are doing Pokemon the first movie, Doug. Um,
Yes.
the first one of many, many, many in its series. And this movie was released July 18th, 1998 in Japan. And here in the States, it was released November 10th, 1999. Now, before we get into the history that we normally get into at this time, I want to kind of rewind and kind of talk about when this movie came out, and I'll start on my part. I saw this movie before it was in theaters, Doug. I went to my local comic book store with my dad one of the times that I was buying individual Pokemon cards, and I saw the movie there. And this was like 8 or 9 months before. And this was a VHS tape. And I might still have it somewhere, to be honest. It might be in my house. Um, but this movie, when it came out, it was only in Japanese with the English subtitles.
Oh, it
So,
did have English subs.
yes, it did.
Okay.
So me and my friends would sit down and we would watch it. We would watch the Pikachu short that was right before it, the Pikachu's Vacation, and then Kids WB bought the rights to it, and they were like, "Okay, so we're gonna make this a theatrical release as well." And they released it here in the States, and me and my friends went to go see it, and we're like, we've already seen this movie. I mean, it was nice that it was in English for once, but I couldn't tell you how many times I actually watched it in English because I think I watched it more in Japanese than I did in English because I was like,
Hmm.
oh shit, this is a Mewtwo movie, like a whole movie about Mewtwo. And then, I mean, we're going to get into it, but they never reference this movie in the series outside of a few clips that we'll end up seeing. I think starting in season 2, we're going to start seeing some random clips from this movie about Mewtwo breaking out of the factory and what Giovanni was doing prior to the big explosion and all that. So,
Right, right.
because we kind of get a little bit of a backstory in the series in regards to that, but that's all we really get. This movie really doesn't really come back ever like in the series.
Now, and I mean, this could be saved for a post movie discussion, but I mean, we're already here, so it's what it is. Did they mess up, or would it have been the better move for them to pick the show up like directly after the movie?
Well,
Because
I
like the Rugrats movie, both
coincide
of
with
them,
yeah, they
I
coincide
think,
with the
basically,
series.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so in a way, so you know how the movie ends, right? I
Yeah.
mean, okay. So technically they couldn't really pick it up only because
Oh,
of
yeah,
how
you're
the
right.
movie ends.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. Because
So
they
they
specifically make a note to do what they do at the end of the movie.
yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So they can't really pick it up in the series. So they were really smart on that. So if you wanted to watch this movie, you could, or if you weren't lucky enough to go and watch the movie or be able to watch it in the movie theater, you could still follow the series as if nothing ever happened. Because literally, that's how they left the movie. Nothing happened. So
So the big question, I guess, to ask before we launch into a hour and a half review or whatever this ends up being, what was the point of it?
the point was to get Mewtwo and Mew out because you know what, and I should have, and I know I should have. Let me see, when was Pokemon Yellow released? I'm gonna look this up real quick. Okay, so Pokemon Yellow came out in 1998, September 12th, is what it
So
said.
after the movie.
Actually, it came. Well, that's the Japan release. Let
Well,
me.
right.
So in North America, it came out in 1999, but I want an actual date for the. Okay, here it is. North America, October 19th, 1999. And oh, okay.
Oh, wait, that's before the North American theatrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right before, so we had just gotten Pokemon Yellow and they hadn't transitioned into the newer Pokemon later on. So we had red, blue, and we had yellow, and this was a way to introduce Mewtwo, and Mew because everyone and their mother they had Pokemon tournaments up to woohoo, and I don't know if you remember back in the day, Doug, but that was the only way to really get Mew because nobody knew about the truck trick in the original Red and Blue game.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure it worked, to be honest with you. I think I just had a bunch of kids that I went to school with that were of ill repute, and they said, "Oh, there's a trick." And I said, "I bet you there isn't. It never worked for me."
Yeah, it never worked for me either. I got Mew from Game Shark. If that's a word right there.
Right.
I had the big black Game Shark, and you had to put in certain codes, and I'd be lying to you if I said I said I didn't have a mishap with the Game Shark.
I'm sure you did.
Game Shark corrupted my very first copy of my Pokemon Red
Oh, no.
because I put in the wrong code or whatever, or I put in a code that I found on the internet, and when it went into my Pokemon Red game, it corrupted the mess out of that. Oh man, I was not a happy camper. Had to go back and get a different one. Luckily these games were only like $25 a piece. But
Right?
yeah, I remember having to tell my dad, it won't work. But that didn't stop me from using the Game Shark. I still used it to get my Pokemon because I had to start that game all over, and man, that anyone that has played the original Pokemon games knows the struggle of having to start all the way over from square one on a red or blue game.
Oh
It,
gosh,
it's it that yeah, that was not fun.
that's pain.
But yeah, I as to kind of wrap up my session. Yeah, that I watched the movie before it came out and had it on VHS tape before it came out. So, Doug, what are your memories in regards to this movie before we get into our history moment?
I I saw it in the theater relatively soon after release. Probably not on release day because it was a Wednesday for whatever reason.
Yes.
Um, Probably soon afterwards. Probably not that Friday either. But I saw it. Um, I remember seeing the little Pikachu's Vacation, seeing Pokemon that I don't think we'd seen in the series yet. I'm thinking specifically of Schnubble.
Yeah, we had Snubble. I believe Meryl made his first appearance.
I believe so. Yeah,
I no joke when I saw Meryl. Did you in your school have the rumor of Peekaboo or what he was nicknamed before they came out with the name Meryl out here in the States?
that sounds familiar. I don't know where I heard it. I might have heard it from you, but I have heard that term.
Okay. Yeah, that was a nickname that I mean at least on the internet around that time, and I remember trying to get them in the red and blue game, and it came across as a missing no character in the game. So that was fun. But yeah, you finish your thought.
No, like I say, I saw it in the theater. I definitely remember owning the VHS. Um, Probably. So yeah, I mean, I don't have all the hoopla and all the day one stuff with the Pokemon cards or the. I remember the Burger King promotion.
Yes, the large Pokeball with the gold plated Pokemon card.
And I definitely didn't have any of those because I would still have them.
Yeah, and then if you went to this movie within the first week, you got the Pokemon. I believe it was the Ancient Mew Pokemon card, and I had that, and they banned it in the tournaments that I used to go to. They say you can't use that. That's not a legit Pokemon card, even though the Ancient Mew had a move set and everything. But they said no, you can't use that card in this tournament. So
What do they mean it wasn't a legit card? It was through Pokemon.
yeah, it was through Pokemon, but a lot of the cards that me and you grew up with, Doug, you can't use those cards in the game anymore. They've upgraded because I guess people would find ways to kind of trickery the system in the Pokemon games and kind of cheat. I'm guessing some people probably ruined it for others. So yeah,
People with too much time on their hand.
yeah, you couldn't use those. I couldn't use that card, and I had other cards that I wasn't able to use too, but that's neither here nor there.
Ha!
So, all right. So you ready to jump into this history, Doug?
Absolutely.
All right. So of course we are going with the November 10th U.S. release date. And on this day, let's see, in 1969 was the very first time that Sesame Street premiered on PBS TV, PBS Public Broadcasting Station television. Wow, Doug. That's a big one. And
Yeah.
it's still going today.
Uh, well, yeah, it is. It's on HBO. I mean, the fresh run episodes are on HBO. I mean, they're still airing on PBS. Um, just a little bit later.
Do they really still have it on PBS?
They have to, right?
I honestly, and I'm not even joking when I say this, I think HBO bought all the rights
I'll tell
to
you what, because I don't. Well, actually, I could.
do a Google search real quick.
As we're talking, I'm just gonna look up the TV guide and see if it's listed for tomorrow
TV guide,
morning.
that's another term too.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're all over my stuff tonight, aren't you?
so, but yeah, Big Bird made his very first appearance in 1969. It's a show. If you don't know, but most of you that's listening, you know, a show that introduced the world of puppets in a way that most of us have never seen puppets and interacted with puppets and made a whole entire world with these puppets. So it it's a really nice kids show, and it teaches kids responsibility. It teaches kids about the world. I wasn't a big Sesame Street fan growing up. I did watch it if it was on, but I was more of a Arthur um, person on the PBS channel. And I have a funny story about Arthur, and you're probably gonna call me crazy when I tell you this, Doug. But it was 1997. I had just gotten my tonsils taken out. And my dad said, I will buy you whatever you want. You're going to laugh at the option that I chose, Doug. So it came down to, I think it was like 5 or 6 like Arthur VHS tapes. And it came down to that or the old gray big bulky Game Boy, and I picked the Arthur VHS
Oh my
tapes.
goodness.
Yeah, I picked the Arthur VHS tapes, regretted it ever since. But it's not that I didn't have a Game Boy to begin with. I still had a Game Boy Color at that time. But
Yeah.
it was just the fact that my dad said, "I will get you the original Game Boy," and this would have helped with my trading addiction since I had both red and blue Pokemon game with trading the Pokemon that I needed over to my game. And I had to wait until my birthday to end up getting that, but I ended up getting it later. But yeah, I picked the Arthur VHS tapes instead of a Game Boy.
That's like somebody saying, "Yeah, I had the ability to invest in Apple."
Yeah, I definitely 100% um could have could have had that Game Boy at that time, and I didn't then. But the only reason I did pick the Arthur was because I was healing from my throat, and all I could do was lay in bed, eat cold ice cream and stuff, and watch TV. And that's actually I believe that was around the time that I got introduced to South Park, because someone at my mom's job gave her some recorded Comedy Central South Park episodes and was like, "Oh, your son might like these." And by God, my mom had no idea what it was, but she played it for me and she laughed and she's like, "Yeah, you can't watch this."
Uh,
So, but all right. That's my history moment from 1969. Doug, what about you?
well, first a couple things.
Oh yeah.
Can confirm Sesame Street still airs on PBS.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And you said you had cold ice cream. How else are you eating ice cream?
You know, Doug, how I eat my ice cream in my house is my business. Chimes in the wife in the background. He heats it up.
He eats it up.
Shut up.
He likes it with a straw.
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with ice cream and a straw.
Well, that's all well and good until you have Rocky Road.
That is true. But I'm
Um,
not a Rocky Road fan
yeah, me either, really.
though. But All right. Well, Sesame Street is still on PBS. That is good to know. So there's a lot that's happened on this day in history, like within the years, but we're not going to go down all of them. But I believe you have a similar historical moment, Doug.
So on this day, November 10th, 1990, the I don't know if I'll call it the classic film Home Alone premieres in Chicago, which is significant because that's where the movie is set.
Well, isn't that where they filmed it?
Um,
I believe that's one of the significant things about the original Home Alone was that they filmed a lot of the scenes in Chicago.
yes, it was. Winnet, Win- Winnetka, Illinois, is
Okay.
the location of the house,
Nice. Okay.
and because that's where the bulk of the movie takes place, obviously. And I don't feel like I need to go into a deep dive on Home Alone because everybody and their mother's seen Home Alone at
Around
least
the
three
Chris
times probably. And
Yeah, around the Christmas holiday and Thanksgiving, that's the only thing that comes on what, TBS now?
well, TBS is still a Christmas Story, which I have to watch at least one time all the way through. Um, well, you just have to, you catch the ending of one airing and you say, "Well, I'm going to stick around," and you do, and you watch it and you laugh the same parts you
Yeah,
usually
they
laugh.
they they replay it over and over again.
Yes, for
Oh,
24 hours starting at Christmas Eve. They just say, "We're going on break. We're hitting the button," and they hit the button, and as long as the studio doesn't the equipment doesn't malfunction, they're all right. It hasn't so far. I
they they asked Stuart to go in there. Stuart, you're staying in this office and you have one job and you are to hit that button. But I want to go home to my family. No, Stuart.
You don't have a family. Well, it's kind of dark for this show. Anyway, but yeah, Home Alone. The family's getting ready to take a trip to Paris. Um, Kevin, classic middle child.
Macaulay
Uh,
Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin, still kicking around. Big wrestling fan.
Yes.
Has a podcast.
Does
Of
he
course,
really?
he does. Bunny ears. Um,
Oh, you like it?
no, I don't. I just know of it.
Oh.
Because as a podcaster, you get a little alert every time somebody starts a podcast.
Oh,
But yeah, I mean,
he's had Daniel Radcliffe, Liam. Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to give him a listen.
nah, fudge him. Um,
Is he a brat?
well, I mean, he gets his guess because of who he is. I mean,
He's stupid.
let us get that far.
I know.
Um, but Kevin's left home alone. Um, they don't freaking realize it until they're like on the plane in the air. Um,
Still don't know how DCFS was not called on their family.
I'm saying, um, you know, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern play the robbers. Kevin beats the crud out of him for pretty much the entire movie. Probably could have killed him at least twice, maybe three times. If you go
He
through.
electrocuted one of the guys.
Right. So, classic kids movie. Couple of sequels.
No, it's still kicking today, even though the sequels are kind of shitty in my opinion, but they're still making Home Alone.
Pardon you, sir. Mr. I'm not gonna cuss on this.
They 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 are shitty. You go and watch one. Actually, I give it up to the audience. Audience, you go and watch some of those movies. I know what our audience is. Our audience is old enough. Or you go and watch some of the newer Home Alone movies and tell me that those movies aren't shit.
Well, now hold on, because obviously you had the first one, and then there was a direct Home Alone 2,
Yes.
and pardon me, because at a certain point, Macaulay Culkin wasn't in them.
Yes. Actually, I know this is a Pokemon movie podcast, everybody, but you've stayed with us for 55 episodes. You can deal with us for a few more minutes. Home Alone movies.
Home Alone 2, he's in New York.
Yes.
Home Alone 3 is no Kevin.
Nope. No cat. Oh, yeah. They switched them out.
Home Alone 4 is a TV movie in 2002.
Yep.
Home Alone Holiday Heist, another ABC family movie, and then there's a reboot apparently coming.
Yeah, we're getting it. They're taking it back to the whole Kevin character, and um, they're gonna reboot it, and
Uh,
it's in production.
Keenan Thompson, Chris Parnell, Pete Holmes.
Alice Bay, Pete Holmes, Timothy Simmons, Mikey Day.
So, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, so essentially only the first two count. I mean, I guess the third one is like because it was, it was 90, 92, and 97, and then obviously they take the 5 year break and it's a TV movie. So I would say it stops after three.
yeah, it does, and I thoroughly enjoyed number three when I was little. Actually, I honestly believe I was introduced to number three, and then I went back and watched one and two.
Oh,
Because I believe, yeah, I was seven around that time, so it would make sense. So I was in the first grade, so yeah, it would make sense that I was introduced to number three and then liked it and then watched one and two after. So yeah.
okay.
Oh, so this movie's called Home Alone Again with the Google Assist. Oh wait, no, that's a short film. Never mind. All right. So, Doug, are you ready to start on this adventure?
I am ready.
All right. And fun fact right before we get into it, this movie, from the time that it was released in Japan in 1998, did not see the light of TV until May 3rd of 2003. And then did not get released here in the States on TV until Cartoon Network bought some of the rights for January 4th, 2014.
Well, shucks.
Yeah, that's a long ass time.
It is a long time.
Oh, but but yeah, and the only reason that it came on TV was because the movie was re-released in Cinemark theaters for like a weekend in October from October 29th to November 1st in 2000. Actually, no, I'm that
14.
no, I messed up my no, it was just re-released. It has nothing to do with the TV. So, yeah, never
Oh,
mind.
okay.
Never mind. But this movie did gross um when it came out on VHS $58.8 million by the end of 2000. And it says by 2007, the film has sold over 10 million units on home video in the United States. So,
Well, darn. Even though I think at that point we're reaching, kind of dead medium territory.
yeah, I mean, you are, but it's just holy smokes, did this movie make a lot of money, and it made the bulk of its money when it was released outside of the movie theaters. So that just tells you the demand for this movie. And they had taken out the Pikachu short in a lot of the later dates, and the only way to get the Pikachu's Vacation was to have the Blu-ray edition of this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's very ridiculous. So, all right, let's dive on in. It has been 34 minutes. I think that's the longest that we've gone without diving into an episode, Doug. So, if you're ready, I'm ready, and we can go ahead and start this movie. Are you good on your end?
Yes.
All
I had
right.
I do need to mute the movie, but otherwise, yes.
All right. So, as you're muting the movie, I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button. And we start a scene with a black screen and bubbles are rising. And bubbles continue to rise. And then we're in what looks like the ocean, Doug.
We're not going this slow through it the whole time because if we're gonna be here for 4 hours.
No, 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 no. But it's the opening of the movie, Doug.
I know, but if you're going
It's the opening.
flipping scene by scene,
But yeah, we start this movie off, and just the artwork at the beginning of this movie. I mean, it's a little grainy because the movie was made in the late 1990s, but just starting this movie off, you knew you were in a movie because you don't have the narrator right away. And then everything's moving around, you're in the ocean, and then we get Mew. The
get
first
a
Pokemon that you see is Mew.
get a nice shot of its butt.
Yes, as it's swimming in the water. And apparently we're Mew now, and Mew is swimming in the ocean and then flies into the air. Oh,
And then we get more bubbles.
yeah. Yes. They loved bubbles at the beginning of this movie.
They had the effect, and they said, "Dang, this looks good. Any place we can put bubbles."
Let's put it there. But as Mew, let's see. I'm about to give away the movie already. But yeah, so we get a bunch of yellow bubbles now, and from here we get Mewtwo opening its eyes, and when it opens its eyes for the first time, it's looking at a bunch of scientists in the room, and the scientists are looking. I'm sure they pressed a button on their end, and Mewtwo is a little confused and can't really make out what these people are, and then just closes its eyes again. And then we get Mewtwo like strapped inside of this machine with a bunch of what looks like tentacles and stuff, like all attached to its body, basically studying its wavelengths, Doug.
Yeah, like it's completely like hooked up. There's there's a handful of tubes just running every which way. Like you said, it's kind of strapped into the kind of like a baby in a car seat. Um,
Yes.
it's kind of got its body's kind of compressed, and you just hear the scientist talking outside the tube, and
Yes.
you kind of go inside Mewtwo, and you get flashes of what Mewtwo's seeing versus what Mew is seeing.
Yes. And so it seems like they're kind of intertwined at this point.
Right.
And Mewtwo doesn't have any control over its body or its powers, and it's at this point that Mewtwo just breaks the glass tube that it's around, and you hear one of the scientists go, "Radio Giovanni's helicopter." First time we're actually hearing Giovanni's name,
Yes.
because Giovanni, still to the episodes that we have covered, all 55 of them, Giovanni's name has not been mentioned in Pokemon yet. I mean,
No, he's just been the boss.
yeah, the boss and the black figure, and it's going to come. Well, we'll get into it. And Mewtwo is sitting on the ground. All of the doctors are sitting here, and what the main doctor is like, let's stand here, everybody, quiet, quiet. We need to hear his psychic thoughts. And Mewtwo is like psychic powers and just looks up. And they explain that they have cloned Mew and made Mewtwo. Doug, do you want to take this part?
Yeah, and we pan over to an instrument panel, and we see a hieroglyphics image of Mew, and it's explained that Mewtwo is greater because Mew's powers have been improved. Because they say they use the most advanced uh,
Technology.
technology to improve Mewtwo's general makeup.
And it's at this point that Mewtwo kind of gets offended because he's like, wait a minute, I'm just a clone. I'm supposed to be like the best, but I'm just a clone. And they explain that they improved the power of human I can't even say that word.
Ingenuity.
Ingenuity. There you go, Doug. They improved the power of Pokemon and basically enhanced everything that Mew can do and put it into Mewtwo. And Mewtwo is sitting on this, like on the system that it has broken out of, where the glass is now magically gone for some reason. But Mewtwo
Well, he
looks
broke
like,
it.
yeah, but Mewtwo looks like a dog, just sitting there talking to the doctors.
What kind of dog do you look at?
Yeah, apparently you're not on the freeze frame that I am. He's he looks like a dog.
Okay.
So they they say that Mewtwo is like, so I am simply the end result of your experiment. What becomes of me now? And the doctor is like, he's like, our experiment is not over yet. This is just the beginning. Now the serious testing begins. And Mew gets pissed. Like Mew already, we know from already watching this movie that Mewtwo has a temper problem.
Right.
And this was the tipping point of Mewtwo getting pissed. He's like, these humans, they don't care anything about me. They just want to use me to help them. Well, F that, I'm not going to help these people. I'm my own person. And Mewtwo, not knowing how to use its psychic powers, just ends up starting to blow shit up, Doug.
Yeah, he destroys the test tubes. They've got like a dozen mechanical arms come out to try to grab him. He destroys those. Um, he's completely wrecking shop on the whole facility. Dials are blowing up, tubes are exploding, machines are exploding, scientists are running for cover. The head scientist is laying in a heap.
Low key, I think this, the way that they made this scene out, I think this was the one and only time that he might have killed some of these scientists in this big destruction, Doug.
Oh yeah, there's no way everybody got out alive.
Because everybody was running around and you don't see the scientists anymore, and then you see the main scientist just on the ground, and Mewtwo is behind a big ball of fire and just swoops the fire away with its psychic powers. And the scientist, who in the subtitles is called Dr. Fuji.
Which I don't love.
Why? Why don't you like
I just don't. It has some connotations that I don't love.
that? So, and I'm gonna say his line because I feel like
I loved his line. I
yeah,
loved.
he said, "We dreamed of creating the world's strongest Pokemon, and Mewtwo it gets this big blue ball of psychic power and surrounds itself. And Dr. Fuji then goes, and we succeeded. And then Mewtwo just goes and just blows up this entire building, substantially killing Dr. Fuji. Like we don't see Dr. Fuji anymore after this.
Right.
And the whole and if you look at this, so this is why I said that all these scientists must be dead, because this is on a small secluded island in the middle of the ocean.
It's a ship.
Yeah. You don't see any helicopters, you don't see anything.
Well, you do in a minute.
Well, yeah, in just a sec, but that's not the scientist though. Freaking Mewtwo goes and just blows up this entire building.
It's a ship.
Yeah, well, a ship. And all of a sudden we see Giovanni with his Pershing flying across the ship and looking down at the smoke and smiling.
You see just a big mushroom cloud, and then like you said, he cracks this really sly smile. And then we just have Mewtwo just standing in the wreckage, just behold my power.
Yes. I am the strongest Pokemon in the world. Even stronger than Mew.
And which then, I didn't love that line, if I'm being honest with you.
Really? Why?
Well, because it's implied.
But me and you both know, well, it's subjective, but do you think that Mew is stronger than Mewtwo? I think Mew is stronger than Mewtwo because Mew can learn anything. And Mewtwo can only learn certain moves.
Well, right. I mean, we had this discussion with when we covered the Ditto episode. We had that discussion, and I think we've had this discussion somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm sure we've had this discussion a few times.
There's something to be said about a Pokemon that can pretty much learn anything that you throw at it, and because Mew wasn't manufactured to be like a killing machine, I would say it's more able to adapt. So I would agree with you that it's probably more powerful, but it's not by a lot.
Yes. Okay. So Mew adapts. Mew adapts and learns, as opposed to Mewtwo was created and can only learn what it sees.
Right, and it's just brute strength and everything. And I mean, you can blow a lot of stuff up, but at a certain point, people are going to learn how to stop that.
Yes. So it's at this point, Mewtwo is looking around, and Giovanni walks into the frame. This is the first time we're seeing a full-bodied Giovanni in the series.
Well, come on now, not like that. Come on.
You know what I mean. But Giovanni walks up, and we hear his voice, and it's not muffled for once either.
I have a question, and It hit me as soon as he spoke. Is Giovanni the same voice as the instructor of the Pokemon test from a couple episodes back?
That's some digging that we can do. I'm sure it's not hard to find that out. But yeah, we can look that up. I'm not sure. It sounds like it.
I'll look that up as we're going along, because that's simple. IMDb is all that is.
Giovanni walks into the frame and he goes, "These fools thought you were a science experiment, but I see you as a valuable partner." And Mewtwo is like, "Partner?" And Giovanni, it's just like, he's like, "With your psychic powers and my resources, together we can control the world. I do not need your help for that." Or Mewtwo's like, "I do not need your help for that, human." And Giovanni is like, "A wildfire destroys everything in its path. It will be the same with your powers unless you learn to control them. I can help you do that." And Mewtwo is like, "How?" Giovanni's like, "Trust me. I'll show you a way to focus your powers that will make you invincible." And I believe this is the first time that, because still until right now, we finally get a close up of Giovanni's face that doesn't have like the black lines on it, and you get a more defined look at
You're
his
right.
face. And Mewtwo is like, "Show me." And then Giovanni cracks a smirk, and we go into a bunch of silhouettes of Mewtwo learning to control its powers. But first, we start off by Mewtwo getting hooked up to a machine, which Pokemon refers to as armored Mewtwo.
Looks like freaking Predator.
Yes. So, Doug, I will give you the ball on this part of the scene.
So Mewtwo's basically like, you say this will enhance my powers, but I feel like I'm being suppressed. And Giovanni says, "Well, it's quite the opposite. Your powers aren't being suppressed; they're being focused." And he says, "If you can learn how to control that, that's going to go a long way in accomplishing your goals. And if you just follow my lead, everything will become clear." And we're led into this arena.
Pokemon Gym.
Right, and he's face to face with an Onyx, and much like we saw at the ship, Mewtwo kind of raises its hand, and we get the blue psychic outline on Onyx, and he's just hurled into the wall. And Mewtwo's like, "Oh,
this is
my
my
power."
power. And can you imagine being that trainer and having your never seeing this Pokemon before, and then having your Pokemon just get hurled up and just thrown at the wall?
Well, and it's weird because I would imagine this trainer was probably paid something and said, "Come here, come help me train something."
Well,
And he's like,
I would think. Well, Giovanni's gym has gym badges, so these are Pokemon trainers that are basically coming in to get their final gym badge so they can go to the Elite Four.
"Oh, I didn't even make that connection."
Yeah, so that's what I would guess, because all these trainers are coming in to get their Pokemon badge, and Giovanni now has the strongest Pokemon of them all, and he's just wrecking house. He's like, "I ain't giving away no more gym badges. You can't beat me."
He said, "You know how much those cost to manufacture?"
So, but yeah, just rocking house on that Onyx, and then
Oh, that's not. Get out of here with that.
you catch me every time, every time.
Get out of here with that.
And then we have then we cut to a scene where there's 9 Tauros charging at Mewtwo on top of a hill of rocks, and Mewtwo just picks up all these Tauros, and Team Rocket just goes in and just starts catching all these Tauros in their Pokeballs.
Which that's pretty handy. Everybody, Ash established. Everybody loves the Toros.
he has a whole herd of them. But and then
Yeah, that is a weird scene. Just Toros just in midair, just a bunch of Team Rocket just going meow.
I'm gonna get this one. I want this one. Oh, you gave me the weak one. And then we're
the runt.
yeah, the runt. And then we go back into the gym, and another trainer has an Alakazam. And I want to make note that this trainer is sitting on the ground. So
Yes.
so something I'm guessing this is not the first Pokemon that Mewtwo has wrecked in this sequence, and this trainer's just like, "What the hell is this Pokemon? I'm gonna try to kill it with my psychic Pokemon," and just Alakazam just gets wrecked.
Alakazam gets wrecked.
Magneton.
Right. And then there's a really quick scene.
Oh, this one, yes.
Yeah, and you have I'm gonna get this wrong. An Arcanine and
Nidoking.
Nidoking, okay. And they're running at Mewtwo, which is illegal, we've established. But apparently, old Gary doesn't care.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing he said, okay, why don't you try tag teaming my Pokemon? And Gary's like, okay, well, I'm gonna put these two, and he has his Arcanine and his Nidoking to go in and charge at Mewtwo, and Mewtwo just wrecked him.
Yeah, not even a contest.
Yeah, and in this whole sequence, Mewtwo goes from in all of these sequences, he's going from, okay, so this is my power. I'm in control now. And then just as he's lifting up Gary's Pokemon, he's like, but why am I here? So now he's starting to question.
Yes.
And we go straight from that to a scene of him hooked up against a bunch of computers again, just like when they put the armor on him. And Doug, you want to go? You want to take this?
So, hold on, I have to go a little. Giovanni kind of drops the bomb on him, kind of at the 5-yard line, and because Mewtwo's kind of like, well, what now? And Giovanni's like, well, you serve your master. And Mewtwo says, but we're equals. You said we were partners. And Giovanni kind of puts it in black and white. He said, no, because you're a Pokemon and I'm a human.
We will never be equal.
This is how it's always worked, and you're not about to come up here and change up the status quo.
Fucking, is Giovanni an idiot? Like, how does he not understand that he created this thing? He knows how this thing works. And then you're going to go and piss off this thing because you didn't get your coffee black this morning?
Well, hey, if somebody messes up your coffee order, that messes up your morning, and then, I mean, you're talking, your day's messed up from 9 a.m. onwards, and that's you're going to make some bad decisions.
Yes. But I want to focus on how they went heavy on the word slave in this movie.
Yeah, I didn't love that. Obviously I'm watching it with 2021 eyes, and all the stuff that's happened has happened. But yeah, because they didn't really do that in the show.
No.
Ash's whole bit is he's a friend to his Pokemon.
Yes. He's a friend who battles his Pokemon to become the best.
Right.
But in this scene,
insert speech from Showdown in Dark City here.
It'll never get old. That will never get old. But Mewtwo it is basically going. He's like, so you're gonna enslave me? He's like, this cannot be my destiny. And he just starts wrecking house on all the wires that's attached to him. And Giovanni is trying to control him by going, stop it. Like, what the hell do you think stop it's going to do? and Mewtwo is like, my equals have betrayed me. So now I stand alone. And he gets the big clear ball around him. And he busts out of this Pokemon gym and just freaking flies out. And the gym's gone and he's gone.
And he's gone, and his suit is breaking up bit by bit as he's going higher up.
It's the beginning scene of the Pokemon theme song.
Yes.
Yes.
But we don't quite hit it yet. And then he lands, and he throws off his helmet, and once again he asked, "Who am I?"
Well, no, wait. Right before you did you get my reference to that? The Pokemon theme song reference?
No.
Okay, so that scene of him shooting up like that in the anime series for the theme song, the beginning scene is Mewtwo flying up into the air, and that was the scene just with a different background.
Oh.
Yes, that was the
Okay.
Mewtwo. That was the Mewtwo shoot up scene. So
he is canon
yeah,
if he's in the daggum opening.
yeah, he's in the opening, but that's all you get.
Well, that's all you needed till now.
But okay, I'm sorry, I didn't want to run over that because there's a lot of references in this movie, and I want to try to hit as much of them as we can to open a lot of eyes as to some secrets behind some of the anime.
So yeah, and so he lands, and he throws off the helmet. The helmet is apparently the last bit of surviving tech, and we see that hieroglyphic image of Mew on the ground from the ship, and he said, and he once again he asked himself, "Who am I?" And this poor guy just has image problems. Is all it is.
Yeah.
And we get a nice shot of him looking up at the mountain, and he said, "Well, I'll find my own purpose because I basically broke out of that facility on my own. I destroyed that ship on my own, and anybody that gets in my way, human or Pokemon alike, it doesn't matter. I'm coming for everybody."
The reign of Mewtwo will soon begin.
And then we get the nice opening sequence. The title of the movie comes out of a Pokeball.
Pokemon, the first movie. They wanted you to know this was the first one. Number one, Uno.
And then we get the subtitle. We get the Mewtwo Strikes Back. And then 10 minutes
10 minutes into the movie.
Into the dadgum movie. 10 minutes of your little 7-year-old pulling on your sleeve going, "Where's Pikachu?"
No, I'm in the theater.
Well, wait a minute. No, they're probably good because they saw the short beforehand.
Yeah, they saw the short, and then all this happened, and they're pulling on their parents' arms. This is fucking awesome.
What 7-year-old you know says? And by the way, what happened to "I'm not cussing" in this?
I'm sorry. Well, my ass. I did not mean to say that. My son said ass earlier today, not knowing what he was saying, because he was singing a song, and me and my wife just looked back at him, and he was like, "What?"
If it's in a song, it's not cursing.
Yeah, I don't know what, and my wife still called me an idiot. She's like, "How do you not know that song?" I was like, "I don't know what song he's talking about." And she's like, "Well, he heard it from you." I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know that song."
What song was it?
I don't know, because he told him not to repeat it, so I don't know.
I don't know. So we're all in the dark.
Yeah, we are. Besides her, she knows the song.
And Jordan knows, but
Yes.
He's not supposed to repeat it.
Yes. So yes, we finally get the narrator, Doug.
Yeah. And he says, "Well, our heroes are on a break from their Pokemon adventures." I said, "Isn't this how every episode starts? They're always on a break or something. They're always walking through woods."
It's too much to catch up to the trio walking in the woods. We got to catch up to them when they're sitting down.
And Brock is working on a pot of stew and waiting for and Togepi is about to fall off a cliff, and
Pikachu's about to have a heart.
Pikachu falls off the cliff.
Yes.
Like, I mean, you can assume that he dug his claws into the side of the cliff and hung on, but he fell off that cliff.
Well, it wasn't really a full cliff. It's like it's a mini fall. Like a
All
little kid
right, all
can
right.
jump.
The next time we're out and about, I'm gonna push you,
It better
and
be a little bump like this one.
and, and you're gonna get up mad at me, and I'm gonna say it was a mini fall.
But Togepi was being a little butt. Like Togepi ran over, Pikachu fell, Pikachu got right back up and was like, Pika, Pika, Pika. And then freaking Togepi just goes and starts running circles around Pikachu. So cute.
Togepi is an infant. Togepi does not know what's going on.
Togepi thinks everything is cool and okay.
We established this in the vacation. Togepi needs to be watched over.
Yes. Misty should not have left Pikachu or should not have left Togepi at that daycare.
Absolutely not. Well, it wasn't a daycare. It was a have fun at the Pokemon park.
Yeah. So and then we get hungry Ash. Ash is like, I need food. I want food.
And Misty says, well, your ass hasn't done anything all day.
And he's like, yeah, but I haven't eaten since breakfast, which means he's eaten today. So why stop being a grumpy little man, Ash?
Grumpy little man. Hurt you so much not to be able to cuss.
I know. And Brock is saying that lunch is going to be perfect for you, Ash. And he says, it's my lazy boy no juice stew. And then
okay, it definitely is no juice, but I heard no chew.
Oh.
When he said it, I mean, obviously I'm looking at the freaking
subtitles.
I'm looking at the subtitles. It says juice, but it also would have made sense as no chew.
Yeah, it would have.
But whatever. That's just that's a because I watched it
and you're like, that's not what I heard.
That's not what I heard, but when I watched it the first time, it was just kind of on, and I was just kind of absorbing it. But now, like, looking at the subtitles, like, it definitely is. Anyway, I'm spending way too much time on it.
So, and then we get a trainer that's dressed like a pirate, and he's like, hey, you there. I'm looking for a Pokemon trainer named Ash from Pallet Town. So, they're establishing, if you've never seen Pokemon before, what the main character's name is and where he is from.
And apparently this guy's name is Raymond.
Yes.
Or whatever that's worth. So if you're doing like bingo or something. And Ash says, well, that's me. And the guy Raymond says, well, let's have a battle. And Ash jumps right up and Misty goes, I thought you were too weak to work. And Ash goes, I am too weak to work, but a battle's not work.
And what does Brock say?
He goes, well, at least his mouth is working. That's some kind of progress.
And Pikachu looks confused. And then
we get the really cool battle montage set to the song, and the theater's probably jumping at this point.
Singing the song.
Bulbasaur comes out, and Raymond throws out a freaking
Dawn fan.
No.
Yeah, that's a Dawn fan.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought a Dawn fan was something else.
Yes, it's a Dawn fan.
So it's a Dawn fan, and it's just set to the song. So I mean, basically, we just got all action. Like Dawn fans running Bulbasaur over.
Yep. Roll out.
Bulbasaur recovers and uses
Solar Beam.
Starts to charge up Solar Beam, and shoots out that and knocks Donphan out of the air, and Raymond calls him back. Ash and Bulbasaur are doing a little
victory dance.
Everybody's happy, and
it's and then we see a weird screen looking like they're watching the battle.
Right.
Which is key.
See, I'm chill until the battle starts, and the battle starts, I'm just want to anyway. So Raymond throws out a Machamp, and yes. Ash throws out Squirtle, and Squirtle's at a distinct disadvantage. But
Not
Squirtle's
really.
Well, he is, because it's a little Squirtle and a big Machamp. Um,
A high level Squirtle.
apparently. Squirtle's using all kinds of parkour, jumping over Machamp, and uses Bubble Beam and knocks Machamp clean out. And
Dude, how strong is his bubble beam? Like, what
apparently,
the hell?
he's ready to evolve. I mean, they're all ready to evolve, and they're just not doing it.
This trainer looked at his Machamp like, did you get freaking knocked out
by Bubble Beam?
by a Squirtle?
By a Squirtle?
Like, he was so mad. And Ash is just sitting there cheering up a storm.
And then Raymond's about ready to pull his hair out, so he just throws out 3 Pokemon at once. He throws out a Golem, a Venonat, and a Pinsir. And Pikachu just jumps off Ash's shoulder and says, "Fried."
Let's point out that Pikachu fried a Golem.
Yes, which shouldn't happen.
No.
And we've been repeatedly told that electric type is weak against rock. Repeatedly in the show, at least 10 times. And just like nothing happened, just fried him like he was a freaking oddish.
Yes, and that's the end of the theme song. And it's at this point we actually got the entire theme song.
Yes.
For the first time, unless you had the CD and you were able to hear it, but for the first time in theatrical form or just anywhere on TV, you got the full Pokemon theme song during this whole montage.
Yes. And it was awesome. And like it was just the theme song over the battle, and the battle was probably the most fleshed out battle we've had
since we started doing the podcast in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go through because I feel like there was some legitimate battles, but like those were also probably contained in a gym. I mean, this was just out in a field, just having a full-on battle.
Yes.
And then the mood's brought immediately down because we find out that the people that were watching the battle were none other than Team Rocket.
Yes, but right before that, I want to throw out the funny line that freaking Misty and Brock were sitting there, and Misty's like, "Well, that was sure a shocking ending." Talking
hated that, absolutely hated it. Audibly groaned.
Oh, really?
Audibly groaned the first time I heard when I was playing as a couple days ago.
Oh no! Did my video just pause? Oh shit! It froze. All right, I gotta get out and go back in.
Right. So we get past that horrible line, and then Meowth's like, "Well, I know we're supposed to be grabbing rare Pokemon, but I wouldn't mind grabbing a bite or two of that food." And God, Misty, I've already been through your line. It's not funny now. It wasn't funny the first time. It's not funny now.
And
and there's another groaner of a line from James. He goes, "Well, that's just another charge to Pikachu's card."
Yes.
Or another credit to his charge. It was something dumb.
And then we get like a little screen looking like it's watching everybody eating their food, and there's a camera on a pharaoh.
Yes,
flying from above.
This is not Team Rocket. It was Team Rocket before. Well, we think it was. We don't really know now because, like you said, there's a second camera.
I'm guessing all those silhouettes that we saw during the battle was the pharaoh, but Team Rocket was watching from their binoculars from the side.
Yeah, you're right.
And we go straight into what looks like a temple, and we see a lady, and she's asking whoever, she's like, "These trainers as well?" And he must have nodded or something, and she goes, "As you wish."
And we see a window open in a tower, and a Dragonite flies out.
Yes.
And it should be noted, because I think it's fair to say that lady sounded an awful lot like Nurse Joy.
Yes. Yes, she did.
I mean, I think that's more than fair to say. And
And then we see Dragonite fucking wreck house on Team Rocket, and then wreck house on the full lunch. I'd be mad.
I would be ticked off, boy. And then poor Squirtle, I'm just noticing, just because it's just kind of playing, and I'm just kind of let it play out. Poor Squirtle gets knocked clean on its back.
And can't get up.
It can't get up.
And then Ash actually he gets some balls on him, and he's like, "Hey, watch where you're flying."
Well, I mean, that's a fair comment, but then he should realize he's just staring at a Dragonite.
Yes, Dragonite can kill you in a. But
This Dragonite had a mission, and he hands Ash a note, and in the note we have something straight out of Star Wars. Straight
Yes.
out of it. Just, they might as well have said, "Help us, Ash Ketchum, you're our only hope." I mean, straight out of it.
Yes, that basically the lady that was just inside of the tower invites the trio to a special gathering hosted by her master, the world's greatest Pokemon trainer, at his new place on New Island. So that is what Mewtwo is calling his island, New, and that's just like it sounds, NEW.
Right.
And it says Old Shore Wharf will take you to this island this afternoon, and only trainers who have the invitation will be admitted.
And as she's saying that, the invitation falls out of the envelope, and Pikachu's there to catch it.
Yes.
And it's just a simple yes or no. And Brock has a Brock frustrates me sometimes because of course, because he's the ladies' man, the horn dog, whatever. So he goes, "Is there a rewind function on that?" Oh, Jiminy Christmas, Brock. She was wearing a goddamn full length dress, basically. What did
we need to get Brock on this show. We need to find the voice actor of Brock and get him on this show. I have so many questions, and I want to know his thought on his character.
So Misty says, "Well, should we go?" And then Brock's like, "Well, of course we got to go. I got to meet her." And Ash says, "Well, I guess if the greatest Pokemon trainer wants to challenge me to a match, I might as well take him up on his offer." So they give Dragonite the card, and he takes off. But then we see this really baffling image of this big hulking Dragonite
Taken off.
being held down by Team Rocket.
Yes, with a frying pan.
Basically saying, "We want to know what's the deal with everything. Why are you coming in?
Hot.
Rocket shop. What's going on?" And Ash's envelope with the yes box checked off falls out of Dragonite's satchel. And James like, yes to what?
And we go straight from that back up to Mewtwo's tower, his headquarters, and Mewtwo is controlling the clouds.
Which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. It's awesome. And it was a nice sunny day, and just out of nowhere he's just turning these and he's about to start wrecking house in just a second.
He literally whipped up a storm.
Yes. And we go straight from that to a very cute part. We see Mew sleeping in an air bubble inside of the ocean.
Right. And the bubble that they're in, because I don't know male or female, I don't think it's specified, floats to the surface, pops, and then
Mew takes off.
Yeah, he generates like a psychic bubble and takes off. And then we're back to the tower, and we're back to Mewtwo, and we see that the clouds have darkened, and the waves are rising, and
Mewtwo's creating a really, really nasty storm and waves on his island.
Yeah, I mean, he's creating a freaking frenzy, and these waves, they're looking like they could take down that lighthouse if they really wanted to, and you
And
know,
we have to make note that like the next part, Ash, Misty, and Brock and Pikachu, they're running to this what looks like a community center, and they're kind of ticked off that the storm just kind of came out of nowhere.
yeah, and so we see the inside of the center, and we see a Raticate and a Kingler, and there's a handful of trainers that are apparently, or to assume, have gotten the same letter, and everybody's kind of getting their Do Pokeballs not exist all of a sudden? There's a whole bunch of loose Pokemon all of a sudden.
I'm guessing this is either a community center or a Poke. No, it can't be a Poke. Yeah,
Well,
actually,
no,
it's not a
this is
Pokemon center, is
it's
it?
not. It's the wharf. It was supposed to be like the takeoff point for the ferry
Yes.
that was supposed to take all these trainers over to this island.
And we have Officer Jenny's assistant, who's nicknamed Miranda.
No. Wait a minute now. She's not. If we're gonna do it, we got to put respect on her. She's got a title. Killing for time, killing for time, killing for time. Because we find out because of the storm, the ferry is canceled,
Yes.
and Officer Jenny is standing there, and she says the harbor manager
Miranda.
thinks that this might be the worst storm she's ever seen. So she's the harbor manager. So let's not just call her assistant now. Come on now, people come after you.
I guess.
Especially because she's a woman,
Yeah, I guess. And basically, they're saying everybody has to stay here inside of the building, and that only certain Pokemon can actually get through on the with all these waves. But
But
it's not.
even then, it's not recommended because this is like the craziest storm that's come through here in a number of years.
Yes. So we have her talking about that no one can survive going out there. That only certain Pokemon can, but humans definitely can't if they go out there in this storm. So Officer Jenny is talking about that the event that was supposed to be going on over on this island, on New Island, is now canceled.
As far as she knows, because obviously, well, I mean, we don't have to get into logistics, but like,
Yes. So it's at this point that we have one of the trainers speak up and goes, "Well, you know what? I'm still going. I'm going to swim there." So Miranda's like, "Don't be a savage. Don't try to pull any stunts. Your Pokemon will get hurt and you will get hurt. And there's no Pokemon Center around here, or no,
there's no nurse.
there's no nurse for the Pokemon Center in case you get hurt."
And Ash goes, "Well, how come?" And then
We find
she's
out
like,
she's been missing.
the nurse that was in charge of this center has been missing for over a month, right?
Yes, it says. Let's see. And Brock's looking at it. Actually, for
Yeah,
some.
it's disappeared last month. And then we pan over and we see the missing and it's a picture of Nurse Joy. And he's dumb because he goes, "Well, she looks familiar." Like, God,
Well, it depends on what city he's in, but he's probably seen this Nurse Joy before.
And then I have an issue
Okay, what's up?
because we see a Pidgeot taking off, right?
Yes.
But this guy, and I thought it was here, but it must be when they get to the island. He calls it a Pidgeotto.
Oh.
I'm not crazy, right? Like, that's a Pidgeot he's riding.
Yes, unless he didn't make it to the island. Oh, yeah, no, that's him. Yeah, that's a Pidgeot.
That's a Pidgeot, and he calls it Pidgeotto, and I'm pretty sure he makes it to the island because something is said.
Yeah. So we'll we'll get there. We'll get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have a trainer on her Dugon, we have a trainer on a Pharaoh, we have another trainer on a let's see. Gyarados, let's see. Pidgeot, Gyarados,
Dugon.
Dugon, and then we have Miranda talking about um, these trainers. Basically, nothing they say is going to stop these trainers. These trainers want to meet the greatest Pokemon master in the world, and what sets them apart is they want to be the greatest Pokemon trainers ever, basically.
Right. Because they said, well, we got all the way here.
Yes.
We might as well go for it. So, yeah, everybody's taking off, and
then we get Ash, Misty, Brock, and Pikachu.
And, unfortunately, they don't have Pokemon that could carry all three of them, plus Togepi and Pikachu.
I'm mad at Misty for putting Togepi in danger.
Yeah, because by all accounts, she should probably have pneumonia by now.
For real.
I mean, I guess Togepi, if it was thinking, could
go in its shell.
Yeah, go in a shell, which it does here in a minute. Well, it does in the freaking boat. It does, but
yes,
coming up here. But then we get
Vikings,
some Vikings, and then we get the funniest line in the damn movie.
I told you it was fucking hilarious. And
so Jesse or James is at the top of the boat, Fuck, the front of the boat, and he's saying stroke, stroke, stroke. I think I'm having one. And that's classic boat humor. And there and Meowth is tied to the front of the boat like a basically like a hood ornament. There's a word for it, but I can't think of it. And Misty said, I can't fucking. Misty goes, I didn't know Vikings still existed. And Ash leans up and goes, they're mostly in Minnesota. And I said, I had to pause it. I was because you had warned me because you said, well, there's a line about a football team, and I thought because it had been a minute since I'd seen the movie, so I thought it was like a Buccaneers reference when old Raymond shows up.
Oh,
but then as soon as the boat pulled up, I said, no, it's a Vikings reference, isn't it?
Minnesota Vikings.
And like you said, there's no way that was in the original translation.
But that was so funny because they don't really mention like states or anything like that in Pokemon that's in the U.S. But for them to make reference to that was a good one-liner.
Except for the time that Vegas, yeah, we had that whole discussion a couple episodes back.
Yes. So, I don't want to go phrase by phrase, but basically, Team Rocket is rowing this boat, and then we have a mishap. There's a big wave, and the wave takes out the boat, and it's right after Team Rocket reveals that they're the ones that are in charge of this boat. And it's now left up to our trio and everyone to fend for themselves. Misty calls out Staryu. Let's see. What saves Brock? Because Brock can't swim, apparently. Staryu helps him.
Right, because Misty comes by. So Brock and Misty are on Staryu.
Ash is on Squirtle.
They haven't seen Ash or Pikachu. Then they get knocked over, and we see. So how big is Squirtle? Because Ash he's a kid, but I mean, how big? I mean, is it because he's in the water? Like,
it must be because he's in the water, but he has a pretty big ass Squirtle. But
swole,
yes, swole. But Staryu and Squirtle are fighting these waves like pros. Like legit. Like, I don't know why they didn't think of this to begin with, because they're just under the water, above the water, under the water, above the water, and just swimming like crazy.
I got caught up in this. I would never go to another amusement park ever again.
Why?
I'd be like, this is it, because I've been knocked over, I've been knocked under, I've been thrown up, I've been twisted, I've been.
And then the storm, once they get past a specific part in the storm, it seems like once they cleared a specific spot, the storm kind of subsides and they come above the water and they see New Island. And from there, we get Mew traveling to New Island above the clouds.
Yeah, and for a second, I was gonna say Ash sees him, but he doesn't. We get it. It kind of
That's
looks
at the
kind of
end.
like right. So yeah, friggin' Mew's just doing dips and dives through the clouds, and see this big castle. And we got lanterns out front, and a big stone walkway going up to who knows what.
And then we get that lady again.
Yeah, and just in that quick glimpse of her, you can tell there's nothing behind her eyes.
No.
Like she's present, but the lights aren't on.
Yep. She's definitely under a spell. And when they get there, she looks over at the trio and goes, "The only way that you're going to be able to get in is if you have the invitation." And luckily, this thing didn't fall away in the water.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how did it not fall away, and B, how is it still working?
It's psychic, man. It's psychic.
I'll show you psychic. I don't even, because that was underwater. That was legitimately underwater.
Yes.
Like even an iPhone stops working at a certain point.
No, those are water resistant. The water just runs off of those.
Well, I'm not gonna chuck my iPhone in an ocean and find out.
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I know you would.
But after Ash shows the invitation, Brock looks at her and then gets a glimpse back at the Nurse Joy missing picture, and he's like, "You look just like Nurse Joy." And the mysterious woman shrugs it off, and she's like, "I've always been here serving my master. You must have me mistaken for someone else."
And which is a horrible sentence out of context.
Yes. And then she leads our heroes back into the meeting room where all the other trainers are. But before we get there, we get Team Rocket. Oh, I feel bad for his wheezing. Holy crap. Wheezing. They were swimming with wheezing like Ash was swimming with Squirtle. And wheezing looks like he was just out of breath.
Well, you can't use freaking Arbok.
That's true. Well, snakes can swim.
Well, not with 3 people on its back.
True that. But then we get another shot right after that, and Mew finally sees New Island for the first time and gets curious.
Playing with the freaking windmill.
Yeah, runs over to the windmill. Like Mew has complete ADD. Like Mew had a mission for going inside of the New Island castle and sees the windmill and goes, "Mew?" And then runs over to the windmill and just starts just riding the windmill. Just so cute.
Just laughing and having a gay old time.
So, and just Mew. Mew, just falling off and just Mew is so cute. I love Mew in this movie. Mew made this movie. But from here, Doug, I feel like I've been talking for a while. I'm gonna hand this next part over to you with them going up the stairway.
That's all right. I basically took the whole battle. But yeah, like you said, you kind of touched on them being led into like the main area where they're greeted with the other trainers that made the trek. The trainer that was on the Dugon and the trainer on the Gyarados is there, and maybe this is where he calls him Pidgeot or Pidgeotto because it's even in the caption it says Pidgeot cooing,
Huh.
but basically it's I can't remember which one of them, but they said, what happened to the other trainers that were back there, and the woman says only the trainers that made it are worthy in my master's eyes, and it kind of clicks with everybody, and they're like, so the storm was a test by this trainer.
Yes. And all right, so from there,
So then the door shuts, so we're all trapped. Well, the door shuts and Team Rocket's locked out, but isn't that the story of their life?
yes. So
And
and then the lady is basically saying that her master's intentions will be clear very soon.
right. So basically, and then we go back because as much as it's easy to just dismiss Team Rocket, this is kind of an important bit here because it's determined that Team Rocket's going to have to climb through the sewer to get into this castle.
Yes.
And then Mewtwo is floating along behind him. And Jessie's the only one that has like an inkling because she kind of picks her head up and kind of whips it around. And obviously, Mew's gone by that point. And they're like, oh, Jessie's off her rocker.
Well, they're all going to be off their rocker pretty soon. What I want to focus on real quick, Doug, is what about the whole 3D effects that they had in this movie? Like, it seems like they drew a bunch of 3D and then like took Jesse James and Meowth and kind of like click and drag them over to this part of the scene. Does it not seem like that?
Yeah, I could see that.
Because especially when the door closed, you got a really good like 3D closing of that door.
Yeah.
Like it was CGI. So
100%.
So but yeah, and we go straight from that back inside where the trainers look like they're all dry now. Togepi's having a good old time. Doug, you want to continue what you were saying?
So, yeah. The trainer with the Pidgeot, who's about to be called a Pidgeotto, is apparently named Corey. And he says, what took you so long? And Ash goes, how'd you get here? And he goes, I decided to fly over. It was easy.
Oh, he does say Pidgeot.
Oh, he does say Pidgeot. I could have sworn he said Pidgeotto. I could have put my house.
And you would have lost it to me.
I had lost my house. I could have sworn he said Pidgeotto. Maybe because we don't really know what a Pidgeot is, and we don't get Dexter.
No Dexter in this whole movie.
Because I feel like Ash would just have it out and go, what's that? It's a Pidgeot. What's that? It's a Dugon. What's that?
But
so yeah, it's easy for Pidgeot, and then he kind of extends his arm, and we see that he's got a Hitmonlee and a Venusaur and a Rhyhorn and a Sand Slash,
yes,
and a Scyther.
Yes.
So he's got a nice setup. Ash's Dexter would just be going crazy at this point.
And then
I think in that group, the only Pokemon that he's seen are Scyther and
Rhyhorn
and Venusaur and Hitmonlee.
Yes.
Never mind. That whole sentence is pointless. Never mind. He's seen them all. Shut up. Never mind. Nobody heard. It's not important. Shut up.
And then he looks over at this guy named Ferguson or Fergus. His Pokemon. His Pokemon are chilling in the water. He has a Vaporeon, a Tentacruel, a Gyarados, a Golduck, a Nidoqueen, and a
So what's the evolved form?
Seadra.
Seadra, yeah.
Yes, Seadra. And
how hard would it have been for Psyduck to go, oh, that's what I could become?
well, in a second, you see Psyduck is over there just looking the opposite direction, so he doesn't even see Golduck.
So Fergus says, I had no problem getting through the storm with Gyarados. And Ash says, well, I've heard it takes a lot to train a Gyarados.
And he's
And
like,
Fergus
yeah,
is
but
like,
once you train it, it's the most dependable Pokemon there is.
and then we see Nisha,
Yeah, Nisha.
and she's standing over there with a Wigglytuff. And Wigglytuff goes, oh, I got to go be in the group picture. And she runs over, and Nisha has, obviously, Wigglytuff, Vileplume, Blastoise, Ninetales, Dugong, and Rapidash.
Yes.
So
She has some strong Pokemon.
Corey's theme was fighting. Obviously, Fergus's theme was water.
Yes.
What's her theme?
Her theme is, well, let me take a look at her Pokemon again. I kind of fast
Evolution.
forward. Yeah. Well, she has a mixture of normal water and fire. So I would just So I would just say she's just honestly, these are all like kind of like cute Pokemon. So I think she goes with more of the cute, powerful look.
Especially Wigglytuff.
Because Wigglytuff is a powerful Pokemon. No joke. When I get put in a corner in Pokemon Go, my Wigglytuff and my Clefable will murder anybody.
As much smack as you talk about Clefairy, how dare you, sir?
I raised a really good.
How dare you, sir?
I have a Clefable from 2018, and it is still one of my strongest Pokemon.
How dare you, sir? I think you should have to record an addendum on that episode.
And then after we see Nisha's Pokemon, all the lights go out, and the lady goes, "It's time for my master to make his grand entrance." And we see a beam coming down from the top of the tower, and down comes Mewtwo. And she refers to him as the greatest Pokemon trainer ever.
Master.
The greatest Pokemon master ever.
And all the Pokemon are squaring up. Pikachu gets back on Ash's shoulder. Venusaur's impressed, according to the caption. And Mewtwo comes down.
And then
eyes glowing blue, and we get a black screen.
We jump to Team Rocket walking through the sewer. And Mew is right behind Meowth. And Meowth is, every time Meowth looks right, Mew goes left. Every time he looks left, Mew goes right. And then Meowth is
and then Mew just disappears.
And just scares the mess out of Meowth.
And we see pardon me. We see the ladder that they're going to have to climb up. And then we're back to the battleground.
Yes.
This movie flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. We're already 31 minutes in. So the lady says that Mewtwo is not only the greatest Pokemon master in the world, it is also the most powerful Pokemon on Earth. So we established that they are living on Earth, Doug.
Right. And Ash kind of is gobsmacked. He says Mewtwo, and I swear to God, I mean, he would at least bring out Dexter, and Dexter wouldn't be able to read anything, but he would at least, so what the fuck?
They had a deal that Dexter couldn't be in this movie.
And then Fergus stands up and has a real Airbud moment where he said, "A Pokemon can't be a Pokemon master." Kind of like there's nothing in the rules that says a dog can't play. But anyway.
Yes. And yeah, after he says that, we get a close-up of the mysterious woman and with Mewtwo behind her, and they are both speaking at the exact same time. And I'll go ahead and read the line that that they read because it's kind of key for the movie.
Right.
Mewtwo goes, "Quiet, human. From now on, I am the one who makes the rules." And everyone's like, how is this going on? And Brock's like, "It's psychic."
Thanks, Brock.
Remember Sabrina? Yeah, it's Sabrina. I'm surprised that Ash doesn't have PTSD from the whole Sabrina thing happening right now. He's like, "Oh no, not another one."
Not another one. I'm gonna get turned into a doll again, aren't I?
But it's at this time that one of the Pokemon trainers gets
Fergus.
Fergus gets lifted up.
Listen here, but they give them names for a reason.
Well, I can't remember all of their
Well, God damn
names. Well, Mewtwo picks up Fergus into the air and just whips Fergus head first into the water with his Pokemon.
And Fergus is so pissed off he sends Gyarados after him to use Hyper Beam. And the Hyper Beam comes out, and Mewtwo just holds up his hand and it just deflects, and just the Hyper Beam goes right back into Gyarados and knocks Gyarados into the pool, into Tentacruel, and Fergus jumps in after Gyarados, and
it's at this point Mewtwo calls that child's play and then releases his power from who we're about to find out the mysterious woman is Nurse Joy.
Because her hat falls off and you got the distinctive red hair, and she goes, "Where am I?" And he says, "You've been under my control. I transported you here from the Pokemon Center
because I needed you for your Pokemon expertise."
Right.
So he's been using Nurse Joy this whole time to find out about Pokemon and to kind of learn. So this is how Mewtwo was learning about Pokemon.
Which kind of makes it sound like Mewtwo was a blank slate when he got, but I didn't get that impression from the training sessions he was having with Giovanni, so I was a little...
Well, I chalked that up to Mewtwo was used by Giovanni to fight all these Pokemon, to be the best, to kind of be Giovanni's little trophy, saying, "Aha, I got the most powerful Pokemon," but he never learned about these Pokemon that he was beating. He was learning about controlling his power.
Which is another reason, another check mark in the Mew box in terms of Mew versus Mewtwo.
Yes.
In my book.
Yes.
Because you see just in the little bits we've had with Mew is curious about its surroundings.
Yes, Mew is always aware of its surroundings. So Brock looks up at Mewtwo and goes, who the hell are you?" And Mewtwo is like, "I am the new ruler of this world, the master of humans and Pokemon alike."
Misty calls him a bully.
Yes, and we go straight from that back down to the basement where Team Rocket is still trying to make their way into this castle. So, Doug?
So as they're walking, they come to a door that opens, and we see dozens of test tubes holding Pokemon. We see a Venusaur and a Charizard, and I believe a Bulbasaur, but I could be mistaken. Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is right. So basically, the three starter max evolutions, yes. And we can see, because we see that they're in mysterious liquid, but we can see even through the glass in that, we can see that there's mysterious markings on them.
Yes.
And Jessie's kind of wandering around, and she sits on the console, and it kind of kicks on.
Nice butt, Jessie.
Well, can your butt turn on a computer?
It can.
Well, I don't want to. Whatever you do when we hit stop is your business and your business alone. We see like a bunch of like security footage, and we see like Pokemon like DNA sequences, and as they're kind of watching the screen, an arm comes out and grabs Meowth.
Yes. Oh, I felt so bad for Meowth on this part.
Really? I mean, yeah. I mean, no doubt.
But Meowth is on this machine that's getting ready to basically take him to somewhere, and Meowth starts freaking out, and he's like, "No, no, 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 no!" And he's trying to like jump off of this like little roller machine. James jumps in, Jesse jumps after, and they grab a hold of each other and they pull Meowth out. But as they're pulling Meowth out, there's a little tiny machine on the inside that takes 3 hairs off of Meowth's tail and diagnoses it into the DNA system.
And Meowth has a good lineup. I made it, but just by a hair, and he's holding his tail. Um, and we see the copy come out of the goo and into its own tube, and
We get the
Meowth's
first
like,
"Who's that Pokemon?"
yeah, we get that like 4 more times. Because we can't have commercials in a movie, but we still got to say the line.
It's Meowth.
And
I was laughing. I'm sorry. We'll continue. But I was laughing so hard when that first happened. I was like, "Who's that Pokemon?" It's
yeah,
Meowth.
you get one where you get a chuckle, but you do it 4 more times. It's like, all right, fucking come on, move on here.
I know.
And then we just get a deluge of images and talking about failed experiments and living Pokemon, and Team Rocket are just kind of trying to take this all in,
But then we have Meowth come out of the test tube. And let's focus on how quick it was to make a replica of Meowth.
and how little it took. I mean, it basically, like you said, it took 3 hairs.
Yes. 3 hairs and you have a brand. I mean, give me this system.
No,
Holy crap.
no, no,
I'm talking about in Pokemon.
no. You weren't either, and shut up. I don't know what you were talking about. I have an idea, but I didn't like it.
I was legit talking Pokemon. You
No,
dirty
you
mind,
weren't.
man.
No, you weren't.
Oh man, I'm running on Red Bull right now. All right. So we go straight from that to a security system where there's a voice talking about Mew. So Doug, should I read this part to the audience?
Might be helpful.
Okay. So the voice says, "I haven't got much time. I pray this record of our experiment survives. A year ago, we discovered a fossil that proved the remains of the ancient Pokemon Mew." And Team Rocket rushes over to the computer, and the voice is like, "There was sufficient genetic material." Oh, holy crap! He is going fast. Give me 1 second, people.
Well, basically, it's what we saw at the beginning,
Yes.
but they're just kind of catching, they're catching. So basically, it's what they went through at the beginning,
Yes.
and we
Team
got the line that dude said at the beginning before he got blown up. We got that again,
Yes.
and then that's when the footage went kaputski.
Is it possible that this guy did not die?
No, he's dead.
Oh, he is dead. So you think
He's dead.
you think he made this before he blew up?
Well, yeah, right before. I mean, you can tell because as soon as he says that line again, he bang.
True.
So yeah, he's dead.
So yeah, basically, they figured out a way to replicate Pokemon without basically having them do things to get Pokemon eggs.
Right, and I mean, all we really know about eggs as viewers of the show is Togepi. Like we don't like they haven't gone into a deep dive about eggs yet, and I don't know if they ever do. I mean, if they do, I might have been out by that point. I mean, obviously, as players, we learned about eggs, about Ditto and the breeding center and the daycare center.
Oh, so yeah, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. and they talk about the succession. And Jesse goes, this person sounds like a real Pokestein. And James like, sure does. One big cat, Meow says, as Mew is hovering behind him. Mew is very curious. So Mew watched this whole video as well, kind of taking in what has happened. So
Right.
so Mew's basically like, oh, so you took my hairs and made this big being. Okay, good. That's good to know.
Well,
Y'all
yeah.
are
I mean,
y'all are in trouble.
as far as Mew knows, it's just hair. I
Yeah.
mean, there's probably a little more for her, or for it, or they, or whatever the fuck.
I still want to know. I mean, the Pokemon comic book kind of breaks down how they got a hold of Mew, but they try not to tie the comic book into the series. But in the comic book, they got a hold of Mew, and the trainer Red saved Mew from being captured. But they
Oh,
got
okay.
but they got its DNA from trying to capture it by trying to lure it in with a Ditto. They showed Ditto a picture. Ditto became Mew, and they lured in the other Mew and got its DNA. So, yeah.
Oh,
So
so
I
Ditto really is like a a big deal.
yes, but I mean they don't ever say that in the series. I really don't think they've ever tied it in. Um, and I don't think we ever really find out how they got the DNA of Mew. But I'm sure I can do some digging and find out. So that's a later podcast.
Yeah.
But we get back into the main room with Mewtwo, and Mewtwo is like, "You humans are dangerous species. You brought me into this world with only one purpose, and that was to be your slave." There goes the slave word again. But
Yeah, they were really hitting that. They said, "Well, it's a movie. We can say slave a couple times."
yeah, but now I have my own purpose. My storm will create my own world by destroying yours. So we now found out Mewtwo's real plan. Mewtwo wants to destroy all of mankind so he can create a world of his own.
And he says, your Pokemon will not be spared because your Pokemon are nothing but slaves as well.
Yes.
Pikachu gets down, and you can tell that it's disagreeing because Mewtwo basically says, "You think I'm wrong?"
And Pikachu is basically telling Mewtwo that it's not a slave, that Ash is his friend.
And
And we get the whole spiel that Pokemon are friends and not slaves again.
and then Pikachu gets knocked back into Ash, and Mewtwo says, "Pokemon can never be friends. They're just their purpose is to battle." And and then what's his face? Corey sends Rhyhorn after it,
Yeah, because
and
he says that if Mewtwo's a Pokemon, then he's gonna catch it.
yeah, I completely, because I made note of that line when I watched it the first time, and I completely skated over it. Yeah, so he was gonna catch Mewtwo, which fair point, I suppose. I'm surprised it didn't come from Ash,
For
but
real. But
old Rhyhorn gets.
even if they would have caught Mewtwo, Mewtwo wouldn't cooperate.
Oh no, and he wouldn't. Well, yeah, and I don't even want to know about the circumstances it would take to get him caught. Uh, but old Rhyhorn gets tossed by the horn, and just Mewtwo's just up there wrecking shop.
Yeah. Oh, just full blown. I was shocked that it caught this Rhyhorn in midair by its horn and just tossed it back, just killing all the food that was on the table. Uh,
And
Stephanie was watching this with me, and she's like, "That was a waste of food." But
and then
Mewtwo basically beats his chest, telling all the trainers that their Pokemon cannot weaken him.
Ash says, "Oh yeah, why don't you prove that in a real battle? Because he's Ash." And then we go back down to Well, no, because Mewtwo has to say something.
Well, yeah, he says, is that a challenge? And Ash is like, you bet it is. And that it's at this point that Mewtwo's eyes glow blue again from its psychic powers, and we go back into the room where Team Rocket is in, where they're in with all the replicated Pokemon, and the Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard then wake up, scaring them, and walking out of this really disgusting goo-like substance that they're being kept in.
That was a very WWE sentence you just said.
what
It's
WWE?
a goo like substance.
Yeah. It's just disgusting. Like the way that Blastoise and Venusaur like walk out of this thing.
But
And
then, crucially, because as Blastoise, Venusaur, and Charizard walk out of the tubes and out of the door that Team Rocket went into or came into, Mew's standing besides Team Rocket and is seen for the first time,
yes, because Mew starts to follow them.
and Team Rocket's kind of sitting there, and they're kind of dumbstruck, like they didn't move.
They're
And
scared. I mean, wouldn't you be scared seeing these Pokemon come out of that goo substance?
I'd be curious as long as they weren't coming after me. So basically, Mewtwo, as the three Pokemon are coming through the floor, um, Mewtwo says, "I too started with the three starters of Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, but I took their materials and increased them greatly in their final forms, and I have killing machines, and
And
they're
he,
ready for battle because they have war paint." And
yeah, and he calls them clones.
he does call them, and that's the first time they're called clones.
Yes.
Well, one of Team Rocket says something about clones, but
But it's at this point that Mewtwo opens up the big glass door with its psychic powers and shows a legit Pokemon battlefield that is on the outside.
right.
And the lights turn on, and we find out through Brock and Ash that this was all planned. So he planned this all along.
Which they probably knew because they made note of the fact that the storm might have been manufactured in the first place.
Yes. So it's at this point now we are at the 40-minute mark. We um, it's at this point Corey kind of gets a little angry at this whole thing, and he's like, "Your fake Venusaur can't beat my real one," and his Venusaur agrees. And
And
Nisha goes, "You can't beat my Blastoise," and she calls her Blastoise Shell Shocker.
for because if you're doing that, his Corey's Venusaur is called uh, Brutefoot.
Yes, Brutefoot. Nisha has Shell Shocker, and then Ash, of course, throws out
he
his
says
damn.
he says, "Well, I don't have a nickname for it, but I have a Charizard."
And freaking Charizard looks over at Mewtwo, and and this is why I'm glad we're doing the movie now, because this movie kind of takes place basically right where we left off on episode 55, because Ash's Charizard is still not trained.
Correct.
And Charizard just gets a look at Mewtwo. I'm sure Charizard's been listening to this whole conversation through its Pokeball.
Yes,
And
because
then,
we've established that's a thing.
yes. And Charizard just tries to fry the mess out of Mewtwo. Mewtwo takes the brunt of the fire and then whips up the water that's in front of him to disperse the fire.
And
Which
yeah, just treat it like it's a day one Charmander.
and tells Ash, your Charizard is poorly trained.
And we're all sitting in the theater going, we know.
for real.
This
How
is not news.
Hey, you studied these trainers. You should know this.
Well, right.
So we go straight from that to a look on the outside with windmills. That was their way of transitioning to the next scene because now we are on the battlefield. Mewtwo is standing in front of Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur, and all the other trainers have their Pokemon right next to them.
Right. So we get a Venusaur versus Venusaur battle, and Brutefoot sends out Razor Leaf, and the cloned Venusaur sends out Vine Whip, and old Brutefoot goes flying and puts a crater in the stadium, and
this
Nessa,
is like a level 100 Venusaur that they're fighting.
right.
Holy crap.
And Nessa sends out
Shell
Shocker, and Nessa sends out for Hydro Pump, and the cloned Blastoise just uses a spinning shell attack and
just whacks him into the wall.
And then the clone Charizard steps forward, and Ash's Charizard steps up, and Ash has kind of legitimate words because he's like, use your speed, not your power, and that's how you're going to win. And it seems like Charizard took that to heart. And he goes out.
And Charizard just starts to fly and take to the air. And we legit, for the first time, don't have a one-hit battle. Like, they're just battling it out, just flying into each other and just literally beating the mess out of each other in the air. But Misty makes point that the clone Charizard is a lot quicker than Ash's.
And there's only so much you can do about that. And I mean, they're flying. They're basically next to the moon, and the clone Charizard has Ash's Charizard by the neck.
It's using seismic toss.
And then they come crashing back down to the battlefield, and Ash's Charizard rises up and roars and then collapses.
Yes, just done. And Ash is worried about his Charizard as he runs over, and Mewtwo goes, I am the victor. I now claim my prize. And
this flippin' scene
oh man,
is terrifying.
Oh my god, I was terrified, but okay, because there's a part that I wanna get to that Mewtwo was actually able to do that scared me. But we get Mewtwo gets these 3 black balls that are in the shape of a Pokeball, but they have like little psychic eyes on it, and you can tell that these are different types of Pokeballs. And these Pokeballs run over, and all they have to do is tap your Pokemon, and those Pokemon go over to Mew. Like, they get sucked into the Pokeball. It doesn't matter if they have a trainer or not. But my worry about this is, and we'll find this out in another scene, but I'm going to spoil it right now. These Pokeballs can tap an actual Pokeball and suck the Pokeball into the ball.
It's like ballception.
Yes. I had a big problem with that because Brock and Misty's Pokemon, their Pokeballs got sucked up, which is what we find out in another scene. And Mewtwo goes, I will extract their DNA to make clones for myself. And he said they will remain safe while I destroy this planet. And Mewtwo goes and gets hundreds and hundreds of these psychic Pokeballs to go over and start collecting everybody's Pokemon.
And everybody's running, and you're not going to get them all, but like Gyarados gets sucked up, Golduck, pretty much everybody from Fergus, all of Corey's Pokemon are getting sucked up. Old Dugong never had a chance.
Pidgeot got sucked up.
Squirtle and Bulbasaur are basically standing back to back like a kung fu movie, just fighting them off. Pikachu's running, and there's this really cool shot of Wigglytuff, and right after the segment with Bulbasaur and Squirtle, where you're basically staring down the lens at Wigglytuff as it's running backward right before it gets sucked into a ball. It's a really cool shot. I mean, and it's chaos. And so Wigglytuff gets sucked up, and Mewtwo's just watching all this, and Pidgeot's trying to fly away and doing barrel rolls, and it's not working. It gets sucked up, and
freaking...
That's when Ash has the bright idea of they can't get caught if they're already in their Pokeballs.
And he returns Squirtle and Bulbasaur, and then the Pokeballs run over and sucks up his Pokeballs. So I was like, what the hell?
I mean, that's bullshit. That's like getting tagged when you're on home base. What the
I got you. No, you didn't. Yeah.
So how come, and I'm bringing this up just because I'm seeing it. Misty makes sure the Togepi's in the bag and closes the bag.
And doesn't call back Psyduck.
Well, it doesn't call back Psyduck, and poor Vulpix gets taken right out of Brock's arms. But how come Togepi didn't get taken?
I don't think it wants Togepi.
Well, why not?
I don't know.
It's quite literally the newest Pokemon out there.
Pokemon did not want to, because we haven't gotten evolutions of the new Pokemon yet. So they didn't want to spoil anything on Mewtwo getting Togepi and making it into a Togetic.
Or maybe it was the fact that it's technically an infant.
True. But so we have Pikachu running up these stairs just scared. And I want to make note that these balls were going to capture Pikachu, and Pikachu lets out a thunder and just fries these balls, and the balls fall. And then more come over, and it fries those balls, and the balls fall. And Pikachu continues to do it the entire way up this stairway, but the balls start getting smart. And instead of going in groups, it starts trying to hit it one by one, which is scary.
And Pikachu's sending out these electric attacks, and you can tell with each passing one, Pikachu's getting more and more tired. But, it knows, if it stops, it's going to get, caught. And, Ash is running up behind it, and he trips. And
then Pikachu trips.
So, I mean, it's frantic, and it's just... And like I say, you can tell Pikachu's like... And these balls are stupid because Pikachu literally collapses and the balls go away. So it's like, okay, y'all are dumb. And then Pikachu falls and he doesn't catch himself like Ash did. And then Ash sees Pikachu fall. He just jumps.
Yep.
And luckily he lands in a pool. Otherwise, Ash is dead. The movie's over.
The whole Pokemon series is done.
And as Pikachu's falling, he gets sucked into one of the balls.
And Pikachu must hate it because Pikachu hates Pokeballs.
Right, and we've known that since Jump.
Day one.
So they fall into the water. Ash grabs Pikachu's, the ball that Pikachu went into as they fell into the water. But then as Ash hit the water, the Pokeball goes back up to the surface. And Ash is able to chase it down and get right under this bell-like thing before it closes. So he's going down this fun chute, basically. And
can I do this part? Can I do this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we go back into the control room where Team Rocket is still holding each other, and all the Pokeballs are being sucked into this machine to make clones. So it's at this point that we get the next, who's that Pokemon? And Team Rocket goes, there goes Alakazam. There goes Scyther. There goes Dugong. It's Vileplume. And as they're saying all this, all these Pokemon are going back into the tubes that Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur were in, but there's like hundreds and hundreds more of these machines now. We're finding out the room is just filled with them. And Meowth is like, Sandshrew, Nidoqueen, Vaporeon. And then he's looking, he's like, but me, I got a special place in my tail for this one. And he's looking at the clone of himself.
Right. And then we see Ash come through the conveyor belt, and he's like, I don't have time to put up with your nonsense. I got a Pokeball to catch. And this is about as good a time as any to make note of the fact that they attempted to start the motto while they were in the boat, but then they got knocked back, and that was as close as we got to getting the motto in this movie.
Yes. And as Ash sees Team Rocket, he's like, I don't have time for your motto today, and just jumps into the machine to go and get the Pikachu Pokeball. And the machine recognizes that Pikachu is on the Pokeball, but as Ash is sitting there fighting with the machine, the picture starts going fuzzy. And Team Rocket is like, who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu.
And the machine, starts to malfunction and spark, and the screen completely disappears, and then we see Ash basically pulling himself out of the machine, ripping the tentacles as it's going, and then he falls. And as he falls, and as they're clear of the machine, Pikachu's Pokeball opens, and they're reunited, and everybody's happy.
Yes.
But more and more,
it was a nice little touching moment.
Well, yeah, the first time it was, but now it's just research.
But how does this Pokeball open though? Like without Mewtwo making it?
I was gonna ask, shouldn't Mewtwo have to control it? So, but maybe the Pokeball realizes that it served its purpose.
Yes,
because it does have Pikachu's genetic makeup to make the clone.
Yes. So it's at this point, as you said, all the Pokemon have gotten replicated, and Team Rocket is watching these tubes just generate Pokemon like crazy. And it's at this time that all of these Pokemon are walking out of the machine. So they got replicated. They're now living. They don't need to be in these test tubes for days. It's an instant replication, and they are ready for battle.
And the machine blows up, which luckily sends out the Pokeballs so that all these Pokemon can come out. And, we get Ash's Pokeballs basically have to open twice because he tried to be smart, which, fair enough, is it should have been the one catch, but whatever. So his crew is reunited. We see a smattering of the other Pokemon from the other trainers. Basically everyone ends up accounted for, and then we go back to the main battle with Mewtwo and his clones facing down the other trainers minus Ash.
Yes. So it's at this point now, fast forwarding. Okay, so machine blows up and Mewtwo looks behind him, and here comes all the Pokemon out onto the battlefield. And let's see. It's at this point now that Ash and all the original Pokemon are back out onto the battlefield now, and Ash is leading all of the original Pokemon.
He comes through a cloud of smoke, and he's making this hero's entrance. Because Mewtwo says, "Oh, now the clones will inherit the Earth," and Ash says, "We won't let you." And all the originals come out, and at one point, Golduck and Psyduck are side by side, and Psyduck doesn't at least have a glance of, "What the fuck?" So missed opportunity there.
Yes.
And then Ash is standing there. He's got this army of Pokemon, and then he turns his hat backwards because it's serious, and he charges, and
He tries to punch Mewtwo.
he throws a punch.
Oh my gosh. He was going to knock the fuck out of Mewtwo. And Mewtwo takes his psychic powers and legit tries to kill Ash. Like, throws Ash up like 100 miles per hour up into the stone of the castle. And then as Ash is getting thrown back, seconds before he hits the stone, a big pink bubble forms and Ash gets saved.
And then Ash finally comes face to face with Mew, and Mew pops the bubble, and she laughs, and he's having a gay old time, and Mewtwo's just confused and angry. He said, "This can't be." And Mewtwo's bouncing on the bubble, and then one of Mewtwo's energy blast comes through and rips it apart, and essentially he's throwing bowling balls trying to
kill Mew.
Trying to kill Mew, and Mew's just laughing.
Because Mew's using teleport, and he's just laughing and just moving away. Like, he's like, Mewtwo, you're too slow. And everyone's looking, and they're like, who is that? And
there's this really cool exchange between Mewtwo and Mew, where Mewtwo goes, "Finally we met," or "Finally we meet." We mute. Finally we meet. And Mew kind of goes, Mew, like, agrees, like, yeah, and I am Mew. What is up? And and Fergus goes, Mew, and Mew looks and goes, that is me.
And he's like, now I'm going to prove that I am the strongest Pokemon. And he's like, I am better than the original. And Mewtwo's not even listening to him. Mew's just looking around, trying to find the next toy that it can play with. And Mewtwo's like, he's like, I
chasing it. It chased its tail for a second.
Yes. So, and then this is when everyone is looking. They put two and two together. So Mewtwo was cloned from Mew, and and all the Pokemon are looking all astonished. And Mewtwo has this great line. This world is too small for the two of us. And Mew jumps up and jumps into the air, and Mewtwo and Mew start their Pokemon battle.
And it's not really much of a battle. It's basically just Mew being out for a Sunday stroll and Mewtwo chasing it until one of Mewtwo's energy balls catches Mew right under the chin and knocks it into the stratosphere.
Yes.
Until, and we think, oh, shit, that one got him. But then Mewtwo's energy ball comes back, we're assuming with bigger speed, because it knocks Mewtwo into the stands.
Well, I don't think that was Mewtwo's ball. I think Mew created its own ball and just threw it.
That could be.
And then Mewtwo got mad. Like, hardcore mad, because Mewtwo was just thrown into the stadium, and then I think that's the first time an attack actually hit Mewtwo, where Mewtwo actually felt pain.
Yes, I would agree with you on that one.
So Mewtwo is like, so you do have some fight in you. And Mewtwo, I'm so glad they gave Mewtwo a voice, and that we can hear what at least one half of the Pokemon are saying.
Yeah, because it would kind of be tough.
But Mewtwo's like, he's like, I have no time for games. Destiny is at hand. Who will rule, my super Pokemon or your pathetic? Let's see, or your pathetic group of spineless inferior Pokemon. Holy crap! That's a nice line. That's a line right there.
Yeah, I'm just I was just watching the bit of Meowth kind of translating what Mew was saying. It was bouncing all over the shop.
Oh, is that yeah? Mew.
No, I mean, you don't have to go through it. I was just watching it because you kind of said, "Oh, thankfully they gave Mewtwo
Mewtwo.
a voice," and I was like, "Well, what about Meowth?" And about that time, he popped up.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, Mew's got a good point," and James was like, "Well, what did he say?" All that stuff.
But I feel like this part is key because this is what Mew thinks. So Meowth starts translating for Mew. He said Mew says you don't prove anything by showing off a lot of special powers. And he's like, and that's a Pokemon's real strength comes from the heart. And then Mew keeps talking, and Mewtwo's like, my clones don't need their powers to prove their worth. And then he gets another Shadow Ball and he throws it at Mew. And this time it almost catches Ash.
Catches Ash.
You know what I meant.
I know.
So and then part of the it breaks part of the castle and a big stone falls over around Team Rocket, and Team Rocket has to now move away. And Mewtwo says, I will block all the Pokemon special abilities using my psychic powers, which is bullshit.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
So basically, it turns into a street fight.
yes. Whereas all the Pokemon, no rules at all, and each Pokemon is fighting its own power, or I mean, its own clone.
Yeah.
And if we see Ash, who got hit by the Shadow Ball, holding onto the edge of part of the castle and pulling himself back up. So Ash is not dead.
Right. And he pulls himself up just in time to watch over the battle. And I got to be honest with you, I skipped through this
Oh, you
because
did?
they had this kind of. I mean, obviously, I wasn't looking for a Rocky song, but it was like, why are brother fighting brother and all this stuff, and it's just these. It's a literal slugfest of just Squirtle versus Squirtle, and Gyarados are biting each other. The Hitmonlee thing was pretty cool, but that's just because it's Hitmonlee, and then obviously you got Scyther going
I
side for
thought
side,
Golduck was freaking awesome. Like Golduck was just slugging it out.
and then the friggin' the Psyducks are just having pathetic little slap fights, and then you got the Mew and Mewtwo bouncing off of each other with their psychic energy, and the Ninetales were going at each other, and then Pikachu comes face to face with Pikachu, and this is where it really hits a head because you get little intermittent you get like the Pidgeots going at each other, and the cloned Pikachu runs at the OG Pikachu, and
Blast.
Pikachu makes it pretty clear that it wants nothing to do with fighting. But the clone Pikachu only knows fighting.
So that's all it's going to do.
So it's like, okay, no, we're not going to we're going to fight. And Pikachu's like, well, you can hit me, but I'm not going to. So friggin', because this fight really does go on longer than I remembered.
Yeah, well, we can kind of fast forward a little bit. So I mean, we get to the point where the clone Pikachu knocks the original Pikachu back, and as that's happening, all the Pokemon that are fighting their clones, they start getting tired. Even the clones are getting tired.
Right, everybody's exhausted.
So they've exhausted all of their power, and there's clearly not going to be any winner. And Nurse Joy has a good line saying, "All of these Pokemon." Let me see. I want to actually get because she has a really really good line. She said, "Pokemon aren't meant to fight, not like this." And she says, "It's useless. What can come of it?" And Nisha goes, "Nothing but pain." And Brock is just mad, and he's like, why can't Mewtwo understand that this is not how it is? And this is and to force the way to force everyone's way to battle. And this is like, they're all living creatures. I kind of feel like this was a PSA for animals.
Well, and they realize what their audience is, and if they can get it through to kids that were at this point pretty young, we're not gonna. I mean, obviously, it didn't work because it's 2021 and we're still dealing with the shit we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But then there's a really nice moment between Meowth and his clone because they come face to face and they both instantly draw claws, and Meowth and the clone pretty much have the same realization that what they were about to do is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
And
let's make note that Team Rocket in this part of the scene too said that they're giving up being bad guys and that they want to be good guys now.
And that lasts all of a couple weeks until the new episodes start airing.
Well, remember what Mewtwo does at the end of this.
Well, right. And that too.
So, all right, but yeah, they have a heart-to-heart Meowth and his clone, saying that they're from the same Earth and that they should not fight each other.
And then we cut from that to Mewtwo and Mew still going at it.
And two big, powerful balls.
Really?
Well, I didn't. I didn't even mean it like that before I said it.
Oh, bullshit! You were waiting until I was quiet. Bullshit. So, Ash is trying to find higher ground or get down to the fight or something, and this is when Pikachu basically puts his hands up and says, "I'm not fighting," and it's getting real rock'em sock'em by the clone.
Yeah.
And the clone wants a fight. Because it's basically saying, it's basically like the Joker in The Dark Knight, hit me. And
that's a good reference.
And Ash's Pikachu wants nothing of it, and it's just getting slapped and slapped and slapped. And Pikachu's crying, and the clone Pikachu starts crying, and Ash is just surveying the scene with the clones fighting the originals, and it's just back and forth. And Pikachu's just getting spacked, and it collapses, and it tries to get back up, and it gets back up, and the cloned Pikachu's exhausted.
And they're just smacking each other.
Ash is just jumping down, finally hits the battleground, and Brock says all Mewtwo cares about is how superior the clones are, and Nurse Joy's got another line, if I can track it down.
Nurse Joy says that they can't do anything but other than watch these Pokemon destroy each other.
Oh, actually, she says, I'd rather risk my life in Mewtwo's storm than watch this any further.
Yes, and they come to the realization that these Pokemon are not going to stop battling until it's too late. And it's at this point all the Pokemon are starting to collapse even more, and we get a picture of both Charizards just collapsing.
Charizards go down, and like you said, Brock says, I don't think they'll ever stop, and they actually say fight to the death.
Yes.
Which I was like, oh. And then I remembered they talked about Charmander dying, and I was like, oh, right.
Yeah, they don't care about death in Pokemon.
And then we cut back to the cloned Pikachu is basically bawling its eyes out, trying to knock Ash's Pikachu down, and it collapses into Pikachu's arms. And Mewtwo and Mew both hit the center of the battle, and there's energy all over the place and dust, and the lights are starting to go out, and we're basically just left to Mew and Mewtwo are the only two standing. And it looks like we're sizing up for one final shot. And then we get Ash rising to his feet, and he's looking over the damaged Pokemon, and you can just tell that he's going to do something stupid.
Oh, he does the stupidest thing that he can do in this whole thing. And as Mewtwo and Mew are coming in, freaking Ash, and they get back on the battlefield. They're about to have one big blow between Mew and Mewtwo. And what does Ash do? 10-year-old Ash gets up on his feet, runs out there after he sees all these Pokemon hurt, and just takes the brunt of the force between Mew and Mewtwo, and just takes it and just turns to stone.
And Mewtwo calls him a fool for trying to stop the battle, and Mew just looks concerned, and then Pikachu goes over to try to wake Ash up, and
It's trying to wake Ash up by thunder shocking it,
which has worked like 15 times before.
but now it's not working because Ash is dead.
And is something said, because this isn't the first time, because isn't something said about the healing power of Pokemon's tears like an hour ago?
It might have been. I might have skipped that line.
Because we can see that obviously Pikachu's exhausted and scared, and we can see that the other Pokemon are starting to, even the clones are starting to kind of realize what's going on, and Pikachu's tears start flowing, and then we see the Dugons and the Gyarados and the the Venusaurs and all of them, and we just have a river of Poke tears, and they start to glisten, and oh goddamn, are they gonna go through all of them?
Yeah, they went through all of them, but all the Pokemon tears start floating through the air and collecting into Ash's stone body. And if you know Pokemon, water and stone do not mix.
God damn it!
So all the Pokemon are basically wetting the stone Ash, and basically bring him back to life as his body is now coming back to, and Pikachu's looking at him, and Pikachu's questioning what's going on because Ash's body is all glowing now, and Pikachu lets out a couple more tears. The sky starts to clear up and it's not all cloudy anymore, and there's a big beam of light going from the heavens down to Ash. And it's at this point that Ash's body turns from stone back to his regular self, and Ash starts to get up, and we get a close up of his face, and he starts to smile, and he's like, Pikachu, and Pikachu runs over and just gives him a big old hug. And I could probably imagine how you were during this scene, Doug, because I know when things pull at your heartstring, you're a sucker for it.
Well, I mean, thankfully I wasn't paying too. I mean, obviously, because you remember the ending.
Yes.
And I mean, there's 9 minutes left in the movie, and it's like, okay, something's got to happen. And then the clones and the originals are kind of coming back too, and they're kind of essentially trying to lick each other's wounds. And Togepi pops its head out of the bag.
Finally.
And everybody's happy, and like you said, it's all light, and
then Mewtwo finally has a heart-to-heart with Mew.
Has this big old come to Jesus speech.
Yes.
Should
we go through it?
I mean, you can. I mean, it's basically what Ash and Brock and Misty were saying as the battle was going on.
Mewtwo goes, a human sacrificed himself to save the Pokemon. And he's like, I pitted them against each other, but not until... They talk really fast for these subtitles. A human sacrificed himself to save these Pokemon. I pitted them against each other, but not until they set aside their differences did I see the true power they all share deep inside. There you go. That's the line.
And Mewtwo says all that for Mew to say Mew.
Mew's like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you that.
And then the clones are gradually fading upward, and God, do they really have to go through all of them? For goodness sake! I mean, we get the point.
Yeah, it's a movie though.
Well, I understand, but there's only 7.5 minutes left of it at this point.
And that's why there's 7 minutes. Otherwise, there'd be like 2 minutes left. But yeah, they go through all of them. I'm gonna skip ahead another 30 seconds, and it's at this point where
Mew and Mewtwo are leading the clones off into
they're going to a forest.
yeah.
I'm just gonna point that out. I found that out later in the Pokemon series, but
Well,
they're
but Mewtwo says, "Where my heart can learn what yours already knows.
yes.
What transpired here, I will always remember. But perhaps for you, these events are best forgotten." And then
Everybody that's on New Island come across a big psychic power on the battlefield, which sucks them in and brings them back to the Pokemon Convention Center before they left to New Island.
but as they return, yeah, they basically return to Jenny saying this is the worst storm ever, and we have to find center and or shelter, and
But this time, Nurse Joy is there.
but she doesn't have her hat.
No. So we can't tell where she's from,
Well,
but
she had a red cross in the picture, if that means anything.
yeah, I feel like that's their cop out. I feel like we've gotten like three red hats when they don't want to give a specific city. So um Ash, Misty, and Brock are all confused. Ash is like, "Hey guys, how did we end up in this place anyway?" Because now they can't remember anything because Mewtwo wiped out all of their memories. And
Brock is dumbstruck. He goes, "Boy, what does he say?" He he says, "Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny are really great. They keep getting more beautiful every time."
yep, and of course it's the end of the movie. Ash is hungry, so they're like, "Oh look, it's a miracle. The storm is uplifting," and they run outside and Ash looks up and there's no more waves. The sun's coming out, and everyone's like, the storm has disappeared. That's so weird. And Miranda is like, it's a good thing things have finally cleared up. And then we get a nice shot of our heroes looking out into the ocean, and then there's Mew flying into the clouds. So Mew has left Mewtwo. So apparently Mewtwo does not need Mew anymore.
Right.
And uh, Ash is like, "What's that?" And Missy's like, "What's what?" And Missy's like, "I don't see anything except the sky." And Ash is looking on, and then he gives this nice little speech. And he goes, "The day I left home to start my Pokemon journey, I saw a really rare Pokemon, and just now I thought I saw another one." And Misty has
Misty
to,
has to rain on his parade immediately.
yeah, she has to bust his balls. And we didn't get her busting his balls really that much in this movie, thankfully. But she's like, "Well, maybe you're just seeing things, Ash." And then Brock kind of softens the blow, and he's like, "Well, maybe he's not." And Ash is like, "Yeah, I guess we'll see." And then the narrator comes in to end today's movie as our heroes continue their journey onto episode 56, the start of season 2.
Whew.
But we're not done yet. We get one final look at Team Rocket, who's still on New Island, but New Island is no longer there. It's just one big rock. And Jesse's like, I don't have a clue how we got here, but who cares? This is paradise. And Meowth is like, for once, a happy ending. Team Rocket is signing off again. And that is the end of the Pokemon movie.
Except at the very end of the credits, because we do get some nice moving credits of our heroes walking, fishing, and looking out on some Tauros in a field, seeking shelter in a cave during a rainstorm, walking through like some giant trees, walking down a highway, which what the fuck? Well, sleeping in sleeping bags, and then walking down a highway, which what the hell?
Yes. And then we get Mew flying into some mountain.
Yeah, I mean a very pretty credit sequence, but yeah, it's basically all for the final payoff of seeing Mew at the final like 3 seconds.
So, oh my goodness, we did it, Doug.
What's the old recorder at?
We're at 2:44 right now.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Woo.
Boy.
We did it.
Look out, Talking Simpsons, we're coming for you.
For real. But oh my gosh, it's really funny breaking this movie down and seeing all the references that they've had throughout the movie and just everything. It's I don't know what I'm really trying to say. We've been doing this almost 3 hours.
He's delirious.
I am. So every single Pokemon movie has nothing to do with the series. And
Correct.
it's funny how they've intertwined these movies into the series because they make a complete story, and then at the end of the movie, it's like nothing ever happened. And it's like that with every single Pokemon movie. But we finally got through this one. What was the second movie called? I think it's called Pokemon the Movie 2000.
Yes.
So that is the next movie. So we have a decent amount of time before we get to that. So I'm just going to check right now when that one was released. Pokemon, let's see. Pokemon the Movie 2000. Oh, it was made in 2001. I'm joking, people. So it came out, well, Google says July 21st, 2000. The good old wiki says it was released in 1999 in Japan, and here in the States it was, July 21st, 2000. Okay. And that one stars Lugia and the 3 mythical bird Pokemon.
Yes.
So we have a little bit of time before that. That is going to be a great movie. But I want to thank everybody for sticking with us for this first season. This first season of the Indigo Pokemon, it's been one hell of a ride. And we're just starting off. Doug, do you have anything to say?
I'd like to announce my retirement. Going out on top.
Had a nice section of guests, and the guests will just keep coming in, and we'll have more guests going forward. But this was a year worth remembering when it comes to this podcast. So, man, I'm just pooped. So I don't really have too much else to really say. Doug, do you want to go ahead and give your sign off to season 1 with your goodbye, Doug?
Goodbye, Doug.
And everybody, I would like to solemnly thank you for listening to this whole 3-hour podcast. Well, almost 3-hour podcast. But don't forget, we are taking a small break, but we will be back in a few weeks to start up with season 2. Have a good night, everyone.
I know it's my destiny.